Welcome to the very first episode of Season Life Kitchen. Here, life seasons are told one dish at a time. As moms, we juggle so much work, family, and never ending conversations of what's for dinner. That's why today I'm sharing my favorite kitchen hack, a single pot of tomato stew that becomes 3 delicious meals: jollof rice, corned beef stew, and spinach stew. It's a lifesaver during back to school season, and I can't wait to show you how. The base of this hack is a classic tomato stew. I love starting with fresh tomatoes. These are from my backyard, but canned or store-bought work just as well. We start by layering flavors. First, garlic and onions into hot oil. Listen for the sizzle that tells you that the foundation is being built. Allow the onions to caramelize whilst it simmers. You can then throw in your ginger and pepper for a bit of a kick. Do not forget to stir gently to prevent your stew from burning. These cherry tomatoes are small. You can just toss them in as is and it would cook just the same. These onions look ready. I then poured in the cherry tomatoes and allowed to simmer slowly. Let it simmer so slowly until the oil begins to rise and the stew thickens into something rich and fragrant. As a busy mom, this step is almost meditative for me. Stirring the pot, breathing in the aroma. It's a small pocket of stillness before the rush of the evening. And once the stew is done, the real magic begins. First up, jollof. In the jollof, it's all about layering. I first threw in some fresh basil, thyme, rosemary, and bay leaves, and then some blended spices as well. And then I added in some tomato paste for some rich tomato base. Jollof is a dish loved across West Africa and in my Ghanaian home. It's always a favorite, but today we're keeping it really simple. Start with a few ladles, add into the base of the stew we've just created, and as it thickens, we add in some spices. I have white pepper, some curry powder, and nutmeg. These are my absolute favorite for jollof. And then some seasoning cubes as well. Allow this simmer gently, and as you can tell, this is almost ready to be cooked. For jollof, I have a rule of thumb. For 1 cup of rice, I would add in half cup of water. Sometimes it doesn't always turn out that way, and perhaps I would have to rejig the water ratio to 1 cup rice, 1 cup water. This could be because my tomato base is not enough, or the type of rice itself requires more water. But with time, you would learn what worked best for you. In this instance, I'm using 6 cups of rice and 3 to 4 cups water. First, I wash the rice thoroughly and then pour it in the stew base and add in some salt for seasoning. I then toast the rice for about 5 minutes and take out any of the fresh seasoning that I may have had. This process, I'm adding the water. Note that it's hot. I'm doing this because I do not want the temperature of the food to go lower than it already is, so this would make it cook faster. Once I've added in the water, I stir gently and then cover with either a foil or baking sheet. The baking sheet or foil helps trap in the water and minimizes water evaporating from the cooking process. This is truly a pro tip. Other than that, you're going to feel that you might need to add in water, but once you cover it up, the steam will then be contained and would help cook the rice nicely. Becomes fluffy instead of mush. Generally, Once I add in the required amount of water, I don't add in any more. As you can see, as it cooks, I just fluff it to ensure that the sides and everything is evenly cooked. You can enjoy your jollof with the protein of choice. I got some beef from the store that is already pre-cut. I wash with some water and vinegar, and then on to seasoning with a mix of some green seasoning, some pepper, and some oil. This can stay in your fridge for about half an hour and then transfer to a baking dish and bake or air fry in your oven. Enjoy with some steamed vegetables, salad. Next, let's take another portion of the tomato-based stew and make some corned beef. Add in some oil, some tomato paste, and some ground seasoning of your choice. This is optional, by the way. Toss in the tomato base and stir. Allow to simmer for a few minutes. The stew is already thickened. Transparently, you don't need to go through all that step. I just wanted to do that. I added in some pepper for kick, salt, cube, and stir. Now onto the corned beef. When I was a kid, opening up a corned beef was challenging, but as an adult, I figured it out using the key. Whilst this simmers slowly, you can go ahead and chop in some vegetables of choice. Here I have some green pepper, carrots, some more fresh onions, chopped into the sizes that I want, and then I will toss it into the already done stew. In hindsight, I feel like I should have used a bigger pot, but well, we already started, so we will make do. There, in less than 10 minutes, our stew is ready. In Ghana, this dish is often served with rice or bread. Finally, let's turn our last portion of the tomato base into spinach stew. Here, I'm cooking with palm oil, but feel free to use the oil of your choice. In addition, I'm also going to add in some melon seeds. Back home, we call that egusi. Packs in a lot of nutrients. I also added in some tuna, which adds to the flavor of the dish. Some tuna, some seasoning, all of your choice. Once the melon seed or agushi is ground, I mix it with water into a thick paste. Scoop the agushi paste into the stew base. Allow it to form into solids before you stir. Once you get that, you move on to your spinach. Wash your spinach and cut into sizes that you prefer. Make sure you drain the water. Transfer into the cooking egusi. Stir gently and taste for seasoning. There you have it. You can enjoy this with some boiled plantain, some yam, some rice. So versatile. There you have it, friends. 1 pot of stew, 3 different meals, from jollof rice to corned beef stew to spinach stew. You've stretched one effort into a week of dinners. Less stress, less time in the kitchen, and more room for the moments that matter most. Thank you for cooking with me today. Remember, life seasons are told one dish at a time. I'm so glad we could share this together. If this recipe makes your week easier, share it with another mom or friend who could use this hack. Until next time, stay seasoned, stay grounded, and keep savoring the moments that matter.